As I was about to publish this episode with Dave Munnings, I went onto Facebook and I learned that John Nys had passed away. John, for those who don't know who he was a team leader of the US team in agility. And I know that he was sick before the AWC, and I was so surprised to see him there. And it is so sad to see that he's now passed away. But what a fighter. He showed up. He showed up to every single team at AWC. And I could only imagine that he was in pain and that he was struggling, but he showed up. And the community has actually lost a pretty big figure. And my condolences goes to the family, to his friends, to the US team, and all the agility handlers in US. You lost a big giant, a big champion. But yeah. But the best way that we can honor him is to live out the values, his values, in the way that he showed them. And that's by showing up and supporting each other. Thank you so much, John, for what you've done for the sport.
I was like, right, we're doing blinds, we're doing Ketchkas, we're doing this, that, and the other. They were like, what? No way. Because I'd always been so anti it. And anyone who'd ever tried to put one in before, I was like, do not do that. It's horrible. How are your dogs not broken? I see you get them out the van, nothing except a wee, and then jump, go around at the speed of light around this agility course. And I think if I did that, all my dogs would be crippled. I don't know. It's just not good enough. You know, they are athletes at the end of the day, and what we expect from them, they need more than just out the van, to agility and back in. Training sessions where you come away and you think, why have I got angry? Why have I got angry at the dog? And it's not the dog's fault. Not, you know, I'm not a dog blamer at all. I'm very much, I will look at the problem. But sometimes, you know, I've got annoyed at dogs and I might have shouted. I've never, you know, I don't get physical with my dogs ever. That's not what I do. But, you know, you do, we've all done it. We've all been there. We've all done that. And then you come away and I berate myself. I hate myself when I've had those training sessions. You know, this is in the past. It was important. You've got to have a support system in agility because everyone moans, everyone gets upset. You need people that are going to listen to you. And
hi, and welcome to the Champion's Journey. My name is Christoffer Endresen. I'm your host, and we just finished the Norwegian Open here in Norway. And as a consequence of that, I don't have a good voice anymore. In addition, I got sick, but that's just the name of the game. Anyway, the Champion's Journey, for if you're new to this podcast, is all about listening to the stories of champions. We don't want to hear just the stories about where they are now. We want to go back in time. We want to understand their struggles, the efforts that they had to put in order to get to the podium. Because there are people out there who are now putting in the work, who are working hard every single day to train the dog, train themselves in order to get better. And one day they will be on the podium. And they might need this podcast to listen to get that extra motivation to work through the struggles and challenges they are currently facing, and knowing that that is a part of the process. Today's guest is Dave Munnings. He has won several medals in the AWC, also in European Open. In AWC, it's the silver and bronze. And he runs QME Agility, for those who have heard about that. If not, you should check it out. We also get to hear one of the other initiatives that Dave is involved in, like Nexus and Nova. And in addition to that, we get to hear Dave's story. Dave has been in the game for a long, long time. And we got to talk about how agility has changed throughout the years and how that has influences both the demands for the dog and the handler in terms of handling styles and skills. Dave is actually the first agility superstar that I got to know, not personally in the beginning, but got to know about back in 2017 when I got involved in agility. Now I actually got the chance to know him, and I'm very happy that we got him on this podcast, and I think that you will like his story. If you're new to this podcast or have not yet subscribed, it is free to subscribe to the podcast, and you will then be notified every time a new episode comes out. In addition to that, I just launched a webinar. So if you go to dogagility.com, you can learn more about how mental training can actually help you improve your game when it comes to agility. So go to dogagility.com or click on the link below in the show notes, and it will take you there if you're interested in that. But for now, we're going to head over to Dave and listen to his story. Hi, Dave, and welcome to the Champion's Journey.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
Yeah, good. Had a busy day training, but it's been fun.
Yeah, it's been I wouldn't say difficult, but it's been challenging to find time that works because you're pretty busy these days.
Crazy busy.
Yeah, and I've had construction workers and fans because we got our basement flooded with water recently. So that's why I have to sit on the kitchen.
Yeah, I wondered why you were saying everyone was in the house. Yeah, no, it's been busy. I've been busy. You've been flooded, but we managed to find a date.
Yeah, perfect. It's a dream come true.
I knew it would be for you.
Finally, a date with Dave.
Yeah, I know. You've been desperate for one for ages.
Yes. I actually have to start out with telling you something. This is a fun fact. I knew about you before I knew about Ellie.
No, you did not. I knew I was the
Yes.
first. I knew it.
No, it's actually the person that introduced me to agility. Her name is Monica. She lives in Bergen, and when I start to sort of understand more about agility, she said you should check out who this Dave Munnings guy. He's really good.
You've been checking me out ever since.
True.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew it.
But don't tell Ellie that.
No, I won't. Shh.
No.
We'll keep it quiet. Our secret. Yeah.
Very good. The purpose of this podcast is really for us to hear about the different champions' journey, and we're going to start out with you. Of course, you're the guest, and for people that don't know you, we talked a little bit about the introduction that you're the person in the GB team, so Great Britain, that has been on the team the most. Was I right about that?
Yeah, I think so now. I think I took that title like away from Greg, maybe like this year. It might have been this year or last year. I can't remember now. But yeah, so at the moment, I'm the oldest, one of the oldest, been doing it longer time. No, I've had a lot of, I've been on like to EOs and World Champs quite a lot of times now.
And in the beginning, like, how was life before agility? And when was that? And how did you actually get into agility?
So I think I was 12 when I first started agility, but before that, it was very much into horses, horse riding, and throughout when I started agility as well, I was a lot into show jumping and did a lot with horses, race horse riding, breaking, all sorts of things. So I was very horsey background. And then I was desperate for a dog my whole life, and then eventually my mum gave in and let me have a little spaniel. And then she was like, "Oh, let's do something with her," and she found this agility club, and that was it. From there on, and she was only a medium, and they were trying to make her jump 75 at the time because medium didn't even exist. So I was like on lead, trying to launch her over these massive jumps because that's what they were telling me to do. I'm like, she can't jump it. And then all of a sudden they were like, "Oh yeah, they brought this new height in now," and I was like, "Oh, thank God." The poor thing was like on the collar trying to be pulled over these 75 centimeter jumps. Oh my God, all the things we did back in whatever year that was, 94, something like that. So 1994, a long time ago. So yeah, then obviously spaniels, and then really got into it. It was much easier than horses, as in cheaper, and you didn't have to get up at the crack of dawn to go and muck out and stuff. So they kind of just took over from the horses after that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to that your mother, you had to negotiate with your mother to get a dog, but you were already engaged with horses and all the horse sports.
I think because we were out a lot, my mum worked a lot. So my dad, he died when I was really young. So it was just me and my mum, and so she was out at work a long time, and I was at school for a long time, and so we just didn't really have time for the dog. And eventually, she gave in, and yeah, she did have to spend a lot of time on her own at home while we were out. But every free second I had, I was spending time with her, so with the dog, not my mum. Spending time with the dog. And so yeah, she eventually, and then after that I got one, I was like, that I need this is what I love. I just love dogs so much, always have done. I was always just, even when people used to come around the house with dogs, I would always take them out in the back garden and try and make them jump over sticks, and I was just obsessed with dogs, always had been. So when I got this little spaniel, it was just like, oh, dream come true.
And then you started with agility. And like, how old were you when you started with your first competition or entered your
God,
first
so
competition?
probably first competition was probably a couple of years in, so maybe I was like 14, because the club I was at used to do all these demonstrations at like local fates and stuff. They didn't tell us about competitions, so I didn't know they even existed, because we used to have to go and do these demos, and I was got quite bored of them. So then all of a sudden someone was like, "Oh, you can enter a show," and I was like, "What are these? I never even heard of these shows." So and then found out about that, and then it was just kept going and going.
And you got hooked.
Yeah, really hooked.
And like, when was the time when you sort of understood that there were more than demos and more than these shows, that there was an international arena for this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the world champs and things like that weren't around when I was back in the 1990s. Don't know the first year the world champs started actually, but I didn't know about it for a long time. But they had obviously Olympia, which is a final in the UK at Christmas time. So I saw people qualifying for that, and that was always a dream come true. And obviously we got Crufts in the UK. I then saw agility was at Crufts. I didn't really know any of that before. So when I realized that there was, more to it than just local shows and winning up through the grades, then I was like really like very excited to try and do those things. I saw other people doing them and thought, I want to do that. Olympia was just an absolute dream in that massive arena, thousands of people watching you. So it was so, I remember the first year I qualified, I was beyond excited. It was crazy.
And was that combined with other shows as well, or was it just agility?
Yeah, no, was a horse show, Olympia. So just with from the dog point of view, it's just agility. Obviously, Krupp is everything, mainly showing, and agility's the sideshow. But with Olympia, which was the crazy exciting final, that was just agility, and the rest was show jumping for the horses.
Oh, interesting. So it was a combination between horses and dogs.
Yeah, yeah.
And what type of turf was that? Was that more of sand like you
Yeah,
usually?
all sand. Like we haven't had like AstroTurf. Obviously, I remember I first went to Crufts. It was just a flat carpet laid on concrete. I mean, it was so dangerous. It was just dogs just used to land and slip and smash their heads on the floor. It was a horrible. And then eventually they decided to bring in the AstroTurf. I can't, no idea what year that was. And all those showing people complained because their dogs couldn't trot so well on it. And all the agility people and flyball people loved it because it was so much safer for the dogs. But yeah, it's changed a lot since I was when I started, because it was just sand and grass back then, and then all of a sudden they brought in all the carpet and then the AstroTurf. Thank God, and now they have the AstroTurf with this with stuff underneath it. Yeah, it's got a lot safer, thank God.
It's a different mindset now when it comes to safety, especially some people are suggesting that the ladder should be as wide as the A-frame and so on. So it's we'll see how the development
Yeah, it
goes.
is, and I do. Yeah, I think I kind of understand that. The dog walk is so narrow, but and the speed they go on it, but it's just it would just be crazy, wouldn't it, if everyone would have to buy a new dog walk. It would just be. I think it needs to happen, but I just can't see it happening. But let's see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But do you ever like from time to time watch at videos from your early runs?
Yeah, I got it all on like an old VHS videotape of me at shows. Oh my God, it's so old. I don't even know how I'd play it anymore. I don't need to put it onto a DVD or something. Take it somewhere can do that. But yeah, it was I've got some on my first ever Olympia was on a DVD somewhere. I could even find it. And it is, oh, it's so my hat, everything's just so different. I was so skinny for one, that was nice. But that was easy back in the day when you're young. And yeah, just the handling, the course, the equipment was crazy. It was just, I just had contacts with sand. It was just sandy contacts, no rubber or anything, sand and paint. And the tunnels, like they had a sandbag on each end. They had people like behind the tunnels holding the tunnels in place because they were like bent like this. It was just so different. It was crazy. Like it's changed so much since I started.
Let's go back to that big event, Olympia. When you stood there and there were thousands of people in the audience, what emotions did you go through?
Just obviously nerves, excitement to show like what the dogs could do, because they're not agility people. It's not like the world champs where everyone understands what you're doing. These are just people that think it's funny. The dogs are wiggling through the weaves, and they don't get that it's for us really serious. So it is fun because it's not that serious in that respect. But obviously we want to win it. And they even had a fun dog. They don't do that anymore. They'd put in like a different breed, like a boxer or a whippet, that basically just couldn't do agility and would do like 2 jumps and just sprint around the arena just to get the audience laughing and finding it hilarious. So if you were the fun dog, they loved it. The fun dogs, they used to like queue up to be the fun dog at Olympia. Yeah, they do take it more seriously than that now. Thank God they got rid of the fun dog. But yeah, just the excitement of it. 'Cause you usually get a warm-up round in the afternoon that's got a big crowd, and then like an easy like a pairs class or something, and then the final in the evening. The final is crazy because it's not like real agility. The poles are 6 foot long, the wings, each wing is 2 foot. So if you have a backside, like to actually get round the jump is quite hard because it's freaking massive. And it's just so, yeah, it's just so different. And you get like a minute to walk the course whilst they're setting the course up, because it's all for they've got to fit you into like whilst they're setting it up. And then if you're first on, you literally have to run back. You're knackered from walking it because the arena's so huge, and then you've got to run your dog. It's still like that now, to be honest. But it is just a really exciting event because the crowd is screaming. It's just exciting. You don't really notice the crowd when you're in the arena, but you can just hear them. Like I think 3 times I've messed up now because the crowd has been so loud that they just can't hear. My dogs can't hear my verbals, can't hear what I'm telling them to do, because it's just a different event. There's nothing else like it in the world really that I know of. This is so big.
What does it take to qualify for that event?
So you have to, throughout shows throughout the year, you have to come a top 5 place, and that qualifies you for the quarterfinals. You have to go to the quarterfinals and get in the top 20, I think it is, for large. And then you get to the event, and then you have to get in the top 10 in the morning to get through to the final. So it's quite a lot of stages.
Yeah, but that also makes it fun.
Yeah, it is. It's a bit different for other heights. I think it's not quite so many stages for some of them. I think in small, medium, you guess as soon as you qualify for the event at the quarterfinals, you get in straight to the final. So it's a little bit different, just because there's obviously less dogs than large. But it's not easy to qualify, but it's something that everyone just wants to experience.
Cool. And when you did that the first time, was that with the dog with the leash jumping at 75?
No, no, that was with the border collie I had. It was my first really good border collie, because I'd had a couple of rescues and they did well. They got to the top level, top grade, but they weren't quite good enough to qualify. So I eventually got a dog called Billy, who was a friend of mine now, actually, who she went away traveling and she left her dog with another friend, Billy. And she decided to stay traveling a bit longer. She had some things going on in life, so she went away for a long time, and they said, oh, we don't want him anymore. He's a good dog, but he was a bit nervous, a bit weird. That's him, actually, that one right there. Bit nervous, a bit weird. He was just a bit, people didn't understand him. So I said, I'll take him on for a bit. And as soon as I took him on, we just got really bonded so quick. He was such a cool dog. We qualified for crafts, qualified for Olympia. We got to grade 7. We had championship classes. And then when she came back, I was like, oh, can I keep him to Olympia? And she was like, yeah. And then I'll take him back after that. And then eventually I rang her and I said, look, you either need to take him now or don't take it, or don't take him and I keep him forever, because I can't have you just come along one day and go, I want my dog back. So I either keep him forever and I obviously buy him off you, or you take him now, because I can't cope with it. I loved him too much to him to just be taken away from me. So she was like, okay, I can see you guys are so bonded that, you can keep him. And, she'd been away for a year and a half. He did remembered her, of course, but I think me and him had such a good connection that she let me keep him. So he was the one I got to the first time I went to World Championships. I got a medal with him in 2005. So he was a really cool. He was kind of one that started me off on like the professional journey that I would say I'm on now, with actually wanting to do it as a living and getting a name for myself.
So we have to go back to it's 20 years ago. So you have a 20-year anniversary this year.
Yeah, it was. That was my 20th year. I was there 2005. That was my first ever year in 2025. Oh, it's a long old time.
Yeah, but still, I think that when you're having fun, the time goes fast as well.
Oh,
So 2005, you were even attending the World Championship in Norway when that was back in 2009 or 7.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah, I've been to Norway. Though I can't remember. And this is something I'm really bad at, is remembering what years I did what. I have no clue. Like, I have a terrible memory. So unless I wrote it all down, that's why I love Facebook so much, because I can just check back and see what I posted. So before Facebook, I have no idea what I was doing. I remember 2005, 2010, because I won medals. Apart from that, honestly, it's a bit of a blur.
And so you won medal at your first
Yeah,
World Championship. And
I
how
wasn't
was how
expecting it because,
yeah?
sorry.
No, go ahead. Tell about how was that experience for you?
Yeah, well, I kind of went thinking, oh, he was a good dog. He wasn't like the fastest dog in the world. And yeah, I thought he was more of a team dog. I was on a team with Greg Derrick and lady called Tony Dawkins, who still does agility now, and they had really cool dogs. We messed up our team, but I had two really nice runs in the individuals and got a bronze medal. Got beaten by two Germans, so nothing's changed. Germans still love to beat me. um, so yeah, but it was really, I couldn't believe it. Really, it was one of the most exciting things I'd ever happened to me at the time, because it was just, the World Championships and getting a bronze medal my first ever year, when I was, so unexpected. I didn't think it would happen. But yeah, it was really, really cool experience.
Mm, Having that experience your first year, did that influence you when you went the second year?
I think I was just kind of shocked that it happened. I thought it was probably a fluke. So then I went back. Obviously, I think I qualified the next year after that, and then I didn't qualify again. So I think I went 2005, 2006. I might have gone 2007 as well. And then I didn't qualify again till 2010 with my next dog. And the first year he went, he got a medal as well. Got the silver medal individually. I only did individuals that year. To Lisa Frick. She won it she could have given it to me one time. She won it 4 times. She's so freaking greedy. So, yeah, not a bad thing coming second to Hoss, really. He was a pretty good dog.
But well, you said also that back in 2005, when you had the medal, that was the time where you really started to think about doing this professionally.
Yeah, I think professionally, I didn't start. I mean, I was doing bits of teaching all through uni, because I went to university to be an osteopath on humans. So I like, I'm a qualified osteopath on humans, dogs, and horses. But yeah, I kind of finished my degree. I was teaching all the way through my degree to earn money, obviously. And then I finished it. I kind of moved back to home. I didn't have a practice to work in, so I started teaching a bit more and more and more. And then eventually I just thought, you know what, I just want to teach. And that was back in 2005, maybe. I finished uni, something like that. Um, so yeah, it was, yeah, a long time ago. I was kind of trying to remember everything. But yeah, I don't remember. It was never an actual point where I thought, I'm definitely going to do this as a full-time job. It just kind of happened, really. And more and more people wanted to train with me. And, I was doing training days all over the country. Oh, it was good money, much better money than working in, McDonald's or something. So it was, I loved it because I could earn good money doing something I loved. I've always loved teaching. I used to teach when I went back to the pony club. I used to teach horses. When I finished uni, I went back and was like a teaching assistant at my university for the osteopathy. So I've always enjoyed teaching. It's a bit of a passion for me.
So what is it about teaching that you find enjoyable?
Don't know, really. Maybe because I can be really bossy, boss people around. If you ask my friends, they'll probably tell you I'm quite bossy. I can always be right. People can't argue. And I do love being right. Yeah, I think it's just, I really do. I love seeing partnerships improve. It gives me so much joy seeing people do what I'm telling them to do and then improve from it. And and I just love seeing the happiness that people get, and the dog. I just love training dogs. I always have done. Nowadays I've got to the point nowadays. I love competing, but I just really love training my dogs. Always have loved it. And I love teaching them new things. And if there's a problem with our agility, I like to think, how could I solve that problem? What could I do to fix that? I'm a real problem solver in life as well. if there's an issue, I'll have a strop about it for a while, and then I'll think, right, how do I fix that issue? What do I need to do to make that better? So that's how my brain works. I'm a very methodical kind of thinker with stuff like that.
And this love of training, how important has that been for you in order to be able to perform at such a high level for many years?
I think very important, because I never want to give up training. I never want to give up training my own dogs. I've just really, like, I never have enough of it. Like, lots of people say, oh, bored of agility after the whole year of it. I just don't get that feeling. Like, I might be bored of going to show every single weekend, so then I have a break. But training, like, that's why one of the reasons I have a lot of dogs, because I love training them, and I don't want to overtrain one dog. So I'll get a few more. Not like I've got hundreds, but I only got 2 competing at the moment. But I'd rather have more dogs to train, and not have to overtrain one, because I'm not a fan of, with my osteopathy background, I'm not really a fan of doing too much too young. There is no too much too young. Who knows what's right and wrong? But I try and do as little as possible young, and not overtrain them when they get older either. I like to give them a lot of breaks, and don't want to trash their bodies.
Damn. And have you also, with your background in education, have you felt that that has been an asset for you?
No, definitely huge assets. Obviously, I treat my own dogs. I treat my friends' dogs. I get them treated by other people as well, just because sometimes I think, well, I hope do you trust yourself always? I like to have a second opinion. But definitely just understanding of how they move. I did my whole dissertation at university on warming up agility dogs. Like, they had to do a line of jumps with and without an osteopathic warm up, and were they faster? And every single dog was faster with the osteopathic warm up. So I kind of did a whole dissertation on warming dogs up before they do agility. So I've used that for my whole life, that warm up routine. Obviously, I've changed bits of it and added onto it, but I've always been into warming them up and making them as fit as they possibly can be for agility. And because of the osteopathy, knowing like what courses are bad for them, what movements are bad for them, how their bodies work. Sometimes you think too much, and it can be quite scary knowing what they do to themselves. But that's why I think I've always been such an advocate for more open courses, bigger distances. Just let your dogs, give them more space to be able to sort their bodies out, and not being twisted and turning into horrible shapes. I had a dog, like Dobby, the one I got a silver medal with. He was the best dog I ever had, and he retired young. He was only 6 when he retired. That's why he did the World Championships once. And because of a bad back, he had a disc in his back. And I truly believe that's the style of courses we had to do at the time. And I just didn't know any better. Apart from the osteopathy, I didn't know any better about the course designs. So nowadays, and so ever since then, I've been so much more up on what they do young, how they move their bodies, how to keep them fit for it. He was a huge, what happened to him was a huge thing that made me think, right, I need to be way more disciplined on what I do with the dogs and how I keep them fit and everything. Even though I don't think I did loads with it, I think that line had a weakness in their back, but it really made me think about everything I was doing.
And taking more responsibility to ensure that it doesn't happen in the future.
Exactly. I'm always terrified of it. Dogs, I think back issues in dogs, in agility dogs, is a huge thing these days. Like what we put them through, the speed we put them through it, and how they move. We keep breeding all these dogs, so we want them more flexible. But does that create more issues in their back because they're bending and they're flexing so much? I think if you MRI every dog at 2, and then every agility dog at 5, 6, 7, they're going to have changes in their spine, in their lumbar spine, especially in their L7 kind of area. They're going to have some sort of bulging discs. Most humans do as well if you MRI them all at 40 odd. But what we put them through in agility, I think most dogs will have changes in their spine. Is whether that change is bad enough that it's actually going to cause them issues or not. But if you watch dogs jumping at 2 and watch dogs jumping at 7, 8, there's usually quite a difference. Not always, obviously, I'm generalizing, but there's quite often a difference in how they move. And I think that's usually because there's something going on in the spine.
Yeah, and one of the things that you mentioned there, which I noticed the first time I entered agility competition, and also talked with Kurt when we had the podcast, is warming up. How how should I frame it? It's underutilized by both handlers and dogs.
Definitely is. I don't probably warm myself up enough. Don't tell Kurt. He'd get mad. But I always warm my dogs up, and my friends do as well. We're all very into warm because I think, partly from where I came from as well, but we're all very into warming our dogs up. I used to do like presentations on it around the UK. I don't really do that anymore, but there's so much more online about warming up your dogs before agility these days anyway. But yeah, we're very much, they get a proper warm up before they ever see a jump. I wouldn't ever just bring my dog out the van and do agility with it. And I see people do it all the time. It stresses me out. And I wouldn't ever finish agility and lob them straight back in the van without a cool down. My dogs are very much warmed up and cooled down every single time they train, which is why training takes ages, because that takes almost as long as the actual training half the time.
Definitely. And I think that the dog walk is such a great metaphor for warming up and cooling down, that you have to have a gradual slope up to the heights of the dog walk in order to get the
You
optimal
do.
performance,
Absolutely.
and then also cool down to the ground so that they can go into rest.
Yeah, of course. And people do forget it. I see it all the time. I think, how are your dogs not broken? I see you get them out the van, nothing except a wee, and then go around at the speed of light around this agility course. And I think if I did that, all my dogs would be crippled. I don't know, but I wouldn't be that lucky. But there will be obviously issues going on and things that I don't know about. But yeah, it drives me mad when I see that, especially people I train. I always tell them off if I see them doing shit like that, because it's just not good enough. They are athletes at the end of the day, and what we expect from them, they need more than just out the van to agility and back in.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned that the dog you won silver with. What was the name of that dog?
Which one? Sorry, Dobby. Yeah,
Do-
Dobby, silver. Yeah,
yeah,
Dobby, like the house elf from Harry
yeah.
Potter.
Okay, yeah, Dobby. Great. And when you had to retire him at the age of 6,
Yeah,
and knowing that he was probably the best dog you've had till then,
yeah.
how did you deal with that?
That was really hard, because he just won a silver medal, and then I went to Crufts, I think, in the March after that, and well, he won his silver medal, but he'd gone lame just before the world champs that year. So that's why I pulled out the team event. So I'd managed to he went sound and he was fine, but I thought I'd just do the individuals, not the team, because I don't want to overdo it with him. And he won his silver, so obviously he was feeling pretty good. Then he just started doing weird things, like he'd pull out weaves, and he'd never pull out weaves. He wouldn't go in a tunnel, and he loved tunnels. Like, he just was doing unusual behaviors. He wasn't lame or anything. And I thought I need to take him to the vet. I knew I was doing osteopathy at the time. I thought he needs an MRI, so I took him for an MRI. The vets didn't even want to MRI him. I was like, I want him MRI'd. No, yeah, it was quite a bad disc. I had to he didn't have an operation to start with. They said, rest him, do this, that, and the other, try agility again. I did like one session, he went lame, and I thought, that's it, I need to retire him. He had a massive operation, a whole metal thing put in his back. It was horrible. And I was absolutely devastated, because he really was, and probably was now the best dog I've ever had. His brain, he was just an absolute genius dog, and just fast and brilliant. It was so upsetting. He was my first border collie I'd had from a puppy. Um, it was really hard to get back into it. 'Cause then I had my next dog, Boss, that one in the corner. He was a good dog, very good dog, but he was hard work. Like, he wasn't easy like Dobby. That's Dobby, the red one. He wasn't easy like Dobby. He was much, and I thought, and he was young at the time. So when Dobby retired, he was a real baby, and he just wasn't the same. He couldn't turn. He wasn't bendy. He was fast, but he was hard to motivate. He was just a hard work dog, spooky, nervous, not easy at all. But lovely in the house, but just not easy for agility. And at the time, I thought, oh, can I actually cope with doing agility anymore? Do I want to do it anymore? It was so depressing. At the time as well, I was actually starting up my relationship with Dan. And I think because he was so into agility at the time, that kind of kept me in it, which was nice. I think if I hadn't been doing that, I might have had a little break. But then when I realized that Boss wasn't like Dobby, that's when I started changing my handling too. 'Cause before Boss, it was like, no blinds, don't take your eye off the dog, blah, blah, blah. It was all very old school. And Boss made me realize that I needed to do some changes. So that's when I started bringing in blinds. And Lisa was doing well at the World Championships, obviously. And I thought, for someone who's won it twice now, and she's doing blinds and all sorts of crazy fancy handling, how can that be wrong? How can it be wrong when you're doing so well? So even though UK at the time was very much anti any kind of Europe, what we call European handling, I thought I need to make a change. As soon as I changed my handling with Boss, that was like the making of him. And he turned into a brilliant dog. He won loads in the UK. he competed internationally. I think he got a fifth at the EOs one year. That was probably his highest thing. I was on sand. He was good on sand. He was terrible on carpet, so we never did too good on at the World Championships. But he turned into a cool dog, and the handling, that was from that on, that reignited my love for agility. It was changing the handling style, and just starting doing new things. And now I would never say I will never do something ever again, because you never know what might happen in the future, how courses might change. I was always like, I will never blind, I'll never do that, because people in the UK doing that did look really bad doing it, because our courses just did not suit that style of handling. So when I made the change, and I had Lisa over, we did some seminars with her. It was so exciting, because it's like starting agility all over again.
Yeah, and in terms of that, let's say, call it like a belief that was in the UK, when, like, what year did that start to change, and what was the reaction when you changed your handling style?
That was probably like 2000, and Dobby won his medal in 2010, so it must have been 2011, 12-ish. And yeah, it wasn't easy, because all of a sudden I was my students, because I had a lot of students at the time. All of a sudden I was like, right, we're doing blinds, we're doing ketchkas, we're doing this, that, and the other. They were like, what? No way, because I'd always been so anti it. And anyone who'd ever tried to put one in before, I was like, do not do that. It's horrible. So yeah, a few people obviously weren't in the UK doing it, but just not particularly well at the time. And I think when I started doing it, boss just started winning everything, and then it kind of just went on, and more and more people started doing it, and my friends had started doing it because I was doing it, and they started winning as well, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So I'm not saying I was the catalyst for it. I think Lisa Frick was the catalyst for it, looking so cool doing it all. But I definitely think I helped get it all going in the UK with a new style of handling, because I used to do so much teaching back then. So I was taking it all over the country, and then my friends also doing teaching. They started taking it around the country. So it was an exciting time, because it was definitely a huge change when the handling changed, because we'd always been very much, I'm not saying Greg was wrong. His system was very good for a long time all over the world, but courses changed, and all the whole do not blind, do not take your eyes off the dog, all the rules he had just came a little bit. They were very consistent. And his consistency was great, but they were a little bit outdated if you wanted the speed to get around the course style that was starting to come in.
And that's an interesting thing, because you mentioned the demand of the courses changes, which means that your handling style has to change. And it's usually when you look at other sports like football, rugby, whatever, they have certain specific demands that is required of an athlete to perform at top level. And this is usually very static, and it's decided by how well each team performs. But when it comes to the demands and in agility, that is set by the judges and how they design the courses.
Definitely.
And looking at the development that has been in the courses the last, let's say, just 10 years has been huge.
Yes.
And what do you think will be the future trend when it comes to course design?
It's so hard to say, because at the moment they're very open, they're very flowy. A lot of layering coming in at the moment. Obviously, people are trying all these fancy layering skills and having an incredible independence and all these amazing verbals. But I do think for a time straight after COVID, we kind of lost a bit of the handling. I think it was just fastest dog getting around an easy course where all the lines were very natural for the dog, and it was just fastest dog wins. Whereas I do feel like the handling didn't get lost, but it was definitely not so important. Whereas I think it's coming back in a little bit now. More people are starting to I think someone like Tamas sets such intelligent courses, because they're fast and they're open, but they also require handling. They're not just run around as fast as you can. It's nice to have that sometimes, but we do need a mixture. And I do think it'll maybe go back a little bit and have a more, not tighter distances. I think FCI distances are not massive anyway. But it'll just be more handling involved again, and not just skills. There's a lot of focus on verbal skills at the moment, teaching independence, teaching discrimination on verbals. It's a huge thing. But I don't know. I'm interested to see where it goes again. But I'm up for the challenge of trying to be a good handler again, and not just run around and give them verbals, because they're not that great. Only sometimes.
Yeah, but that's also the interesting part when you kind of set to a new standard, and the good thing is to change it up. And I think that's the game of agility.
Yeah, I never want to be someone who's static. Like, I'm always wanting to change and learn new things and learn from other people. That's why I go, I was training with Teresa Kralova today. I always want to be someone who wants to learn. I'm a very inquisitive person. I want to find out what could be better, what I could do better, um, and how I can train my dogs better and give them more information. At the time when that's why my business cue me agility, because I was one of the only people in the UK that was doing a lot of verbal cues at the time. With Greg's system, it was very much handler focused, not so much verbal focused. Well, I was actually starting to add in a lot of verbals really early on. I had direction cues for every bit of equipment. And I right early on, I was like to teach discrimination with verbals, which is where the name came from, because I was cueing the dog verbally rather than just physically. So I've always liked teaching skills on verbals, but I do think handling is also incredibly important. You can't, when people say, oh, I said this, that, and the other. Well, yes, your dog should do that if you've taught it absolutely amazing to completely ignore your body language. But if you haven't, then you need to back it up with some body language as well. You can't send them to ask them to turn left and completely sprint off to the right and expect them to do it unless you've trained them absolutely brilliantly. And I don't think many people have, to be honest. It's hard to teach that.
Yeah, and it goes back to the same principles with communication, that you communicate both with your body, words, and tonality, and that has a huge influence.
Yeah, 100%.
It's interesting, and you talked about when back when you won the silver medal, and then you had to retire the dog, and motivation was low. How important, you mentioned it a little bit, but how important was the support system around you to keep you going through a difficult phase?
Obviously, my friends were always all there for me. I had Dan at the time. It was all new relationships. It was all exciting. Not like an old relationship is boring. New ones, new relationships, always fun. But yeah, no, yeah, I needed the support, but also I'm quite a strong person mentally, I suppose. So, if there was a problem, so I had to fix it. What did I need to do to fix it? Work on the dog I had, look for another dog, maybe try and breed Dobby. At the time, I didn't realize the back problem was so in his genes rather than just what I'd done. And then obviously other dogs in his line got similar back issues. So I was like, well, I'm going to forget that idea. So found a new dog, which was Fame, that one who I did very well with. And so it was important. You've got to have a support system in agility, because everyone moans, everyone gets upset. You need people that are going to listen to you and, say, yeah, it'll be fine, just agree with things you're saying. And I've always had a really good, strong group of friends doing agility with me for many years now. Sian Illingworth, she's, we've been really close for so many years, a long time. We brought other people into our group, but she was probably one of the originals. And yeah, she's always been there for me. She's been really great. And it was, they understood how upsetting it was losing Dobby, and not losing him in agility, and I had so much rehab to get him just being able to run and walk again. And for him, he loved agility so much. It was really sad to see him not be able to do it. So it was really hard. And like I said, at the time with Boss, having that support system around me for helping with the handling changing as well was also really useful, and that everyone was really up for it. I remember being at a field once. It was Dan's training venue, and I was like, I'm going to try these ketchkas. They were like, no, you can't do that. I was like, yeah, look. So I just did it, and he turned. I was like, my God, look, he's never turned this well ever. And they were like, oh, I'm going to try it too. And we were just like all messing around, trying loads of different things. And it was just like, we all felt so naughty, because we were like, oh, we're going to mess them. Our dogs are going to run behind us all the time. We're going to lose sight of them. It's going to be awful, but let's give it a go. I remember that session. I think we've even got it filmed and on YouTube somewhere. It was so fun. And yeah, it just went crazy from there.
So yeah, it's you're doing something illegal
Yeah, it
compared
was.
to
It
the
felt like
standard.
that. Honestly, it felt so naughty. But yeah, it was exciting doing something new.
That's fun, but it's always cool when you challenge your own beliefs.
Yeah,
Sometimes you get surprised about what is actually possible, but it's, of course, it's good to have a system and follow that system within the rules, but also challenging the system is probably the next step in order to achieve mastery.
definitely. And it is, you have to be consistent with whatever you do. So, I then had to start thinking up new, because I had like 7 rules. I can't remember what they were then, but they were like the 7 commandments. I didn't ever stray from them. Not don't take your eyes off the dog, don't let them flick or cut, all sorts of things that kind of just didn't go out the window, but they just weren't that necessary anymore. Because I was like, well, if it works, we're going to try it. As long as it's consistent with everything else you're doing, then it's going to be fine. So to retrain all my students to think like that as well. I used to put on special seminars like European handling, where we would just talk about blinds and ketchkers and stuff, and start, people just weren't doing it in the UK. It was non-existent really, apart from a very select few. So it was a huge thing to suddenly change. And people like used to see me handle boss and were like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? And I was like, well, I'm doing it because of blah, blah, blah. And this, that, and the other, but look how it works. And, and the people that were still very anti it were very much, they thought it was funny, and it would just never last. And it'd just be a quick fad, and everything would go back to how it used to be. But turns out I was right.
How are the course designs in the UK compared to like what you see in Europe?
It's a hard question. They're getting better. The lower levels and the sort of the smaller shows are still quite backwards, isn't the right word, but still more old-fashioned. But they are slowly improving. Obviously, me and Neil have started up a new organization called Nexus Agility, or Agility Nexus, where we're training our judges quite a lot. And we've got some slightly bigger distances and stuff, the courses there are all really fun, the same as like Neil's Iconic shows, if anyone's heard of those in the UK. So Nexus is its whole new organization, like away from the Kennel Club. And yeah, those courses are all, you go to a show and you can run every course because they're just nice. And we're very much into dog safety and welfare and having fun. Whereas Kennel Club, quite often I'll go to a show and run, I don't know, half the classes because I just don't like the other half. It's just, Kennel Club in the UK do not train their judges. They train them to be able to judge. They don't train them to be able to course design. So unless that person has gone away and learned how to course design, they're just making up from what they know and what they've been trained by whoever they've trained with. And agility in the UK, is full of agility trainers. Oh, hundreds of them. People who've had one good dog and think, oh, I'm going to be an agility trainer now. And I'm not saying they know nothing about dog training, but I do think there's a lot of trainers in the UK that are inexperienced, that are teaching a lot of other people. So it kind of snowballs into that. Lots of people thinking that kind of same way. So we're trying to encourage a new way of thinking, more European style, what we call European style courses, even though we are Europe. Are we anymore? I don't even know anymore. Brexit now. Who knows? I can't keep up with it all. I'm just in my little agility bubble. I don't know what goes on in the rest of the world. And yeah, so we're trying to encourage more of that style of. We're training our judges not to do our style of courses, but to keep their style, but make them safer and flow better and talk about the lines. Because obviously it's me, Neil, Tamas, and Petter all doing the module teaching. So we all have our own styles, but I think that's for the people in the world that are really understand dog lines and dog welfare and how dogs move and course design. So I think it's for really good people teaching on our judging course and Nexus. I think it's the best thing we've done. It's super exciting.
And Neil also likes to break the rules. So
Who does?
Neil.
Me and Neil spend a lot of time together now.
Yeah.
Too
He's
much,
fun.
really. He's good fun.
And one of the things that I'm noticing, especially, is that the GB team is getting stronger and stronger. It's a very solid team, and I would say that they did a tremendous effort at the AWC. But you still have the Germans, and and now the Spanish, of course, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
they're good.
What are you doing in the GB team in order to, or in the UK as a total, in order to increase the performance within the whole team?
I think it's really helped that we now have a few indoor training arenas that are purely dog based with Astro. We didn't have that before, so it was a huge disadvantage for us. We also have there's a lot more online training. There's a lot more European trainers coming over to train us. I don't know. Before COVID, we were starting to get good. I used to be one of the only people that would go and I used to always get to like an EO final because I was best of my country. Nowadays, I would never get there because of that. Because there's always people getting there, because everyone does very well. So it's changed a lot. But I just don't know. We all train together a lot. Me and the large team, me, Martin, Nara, Dan, Sean, Shannon. We do a lot of training together. And we think we really push each other to be better. We talk about training a lot. We see each other every weekend at shows. So we're always discussing things and competing against each other. We know what style of agility we want to do now. So we're very picky with the classes we run at shows. It's hard in the UK because there's always things to qualify for, like Crufts and Olympia, and so many classes at Crufts to qualify for. So there's always qualifiers throughout the whole year that you kind of need to run if you want to be seen at the big events, which is, bigs up your online profile and everything else. So it's not what I'm trying to get to. The point of in agility in the UK is that people want to run the classes because they're good courses and good judges, not just because I want to qualify for Crufts, even though it's a really crappy course. But it's hard to change everyone's mentality of that because everyone wants to get to Crufts and Olympia. It's the two big things everyone in the UK aims for. It's hard to change their mentality on that, which is why Nexus is not going to be easy here because it hasn't got the two main qualifiers. Everyone wants to go to Kennel Club shows to get to those qualifiers. If they didn't have those two qualifiers, I think more people would be willing to change to another organization to do the better course designs and stuff. So it's in the UK is quite strange in that respect. 'Cause everyone in Europe just seems to go to the best shows with the best judges and the best courses. It's just not like that here. Everyone wants to qualify for the big events.
But you also have a challenge when it comes to travel because, yes, you're part of Europe, but you kind of drifted away on your own little island. And traveling with dogs is not easy. When European Open was in the UK, you cannot fly in with the dog.
No, it's
So
hard to. We drive everywhere.
yeah. So how is when you go to European shows and AWC? How do you travel? What does it require of you?
Well, we have to get we since Brexit, we're not allowed dog passports, so we have to get this animal health certificate, which is a nightmare. It's expensive, and you have to get so much paperwork done. Luckily, we know some vets that are friends that do agility, so they help us out with those. They can do them for us at a slightly cheaper price. But I think they're bringing the passports back in, which will help us out so much. But then we usually go to Belgium or somewhere and get our dogs a passport, because you can get passports from other countries, because that makes travel so much easier. But yeah, it's expensive, so you either have to get a ferry across or you have to do the tunnel. And then obviously it's a lot of driving to most places. It was a long way to drive up to Sweden this year. It's going to be even longer to drive to Finland next year. It's the same with like when you're down in Portugal and Spain and stuff. It's a long way. But yeah, the whole Brexit thing was a nightmare because of the passport stuff and getting all these animal health certificates. It's just makes the government more money. I don't really see why they're important when nothing changed apart from the government that said you can't have the passports anymore. Like rabies hasn't changed, the vaccinations haven't changed. Like what the hell did we need to change anything for? Just all those kind of stuff just drives me mad. But yeah, I'm not a big driver. I prefer to get a ferry somewhere. I hate just driving and driving and driving. It's just so boring. And we never fly. I think we just, because I don't know why you can't fly into the UK, but it's just so difficult to do it. So we always drive everywhere. It takes a long time. We like it when things are close. Next year's going to be a long way. At least if EOS is in France, I think. So that'd be good.
I was about to say it, but the challenge is that Tour de France is happening about the same time.
Is it actually?
Yeah, so they're getting close to Paris when the European Open is.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. But I think it will be okay. It's not like they're having the Olympics this year either, so that's it should be okay. In terms of when it comes to all this experience that you had throughout these 20 plus years, what would you consider as one of your favorites? You can also have several, but what would it be?
I think obviously medals at World Championships has always been, I've got 3 individual medals, a silver and 2 bronzes. Still can't quite get that gold. It would just be a dream. Honestly, it's my life's dream. Just want one gold medal. Lisa freaking took it from me that year. That would have been the year. Never forgive her for it. But I wasn't doing all the fancy handling then. If I'd been doing the fancy handling, maybe I would have stood more of a chance. I was still doing no blinds and front crosses everywhere. So that was a shame. And she was doing all that cool fancy stuff. So I think definitely, like, with Fame got a medal, she got a bronze, Billy got a bronze, Dobby got the silver. Those 3 times they were all, I remember the courses they ran. I remember everything about those 3. It's just so exciting getting a medal at the World Championships because everyone knows what you're there for. Everyone understands the agility they're watching. it's such a big event. But obviously, winning Olympia crafts at home is really fun too. The courses aren't quite as exciting because they're more for the two events are more for the spectators than the actual agility competitors. So the courses are generally easier, and yeah, it's just the pressure. It's good practice for pressure, definitely, and getting your nerves and being able to work through that. So just winning big events, but also just, I don't know, other things, big things that stood out was changing the handling, getting a new dog. I love getting a new dog and just working through different things and learning that dog, how that dog ticks and how to train that one. They're always fun. But yeah, the big events that stood out for me have always been some of the European Opens have been great fun, certain countries, and the times I've won medals at the World Championships, definitely.
If there was one thing, and this is probably my favorite question I ask everyone, if there's one thing a dog or dogs have taught you that no other coach or human being could have taught you, what would that be?
Probably just patience, just being able to just think through problems and not get annoyed. It's hard when you're human. We have emotions. Sometimes it's annoying when they do things, but there's no point getting annoyed. It doesn't work. It doesn't make it any better. So, we've all had those training sessions where you come away and you think, why have I got angry? Why have I got angry at the dog? And it's not the dog's fault. Not, I'm not a dog blamer at all. I'm very much, I will look at the problem. But sometimes, I've got annoyed at dogs and I might have shouted. I've never, I don't get physical with my dogs ever. That's not what I do. But, you do, we've all done it. We've all been there. We've all done that. And then you come away and I berate myself. I hate myself when I've had those training sessions. This is in the past. But definitely, I'm a very patient person. I think just teaching in general has taught me patience. I'm quite, people always said, how have you got so much patience? I think internally, I'm not patient, but I'm quite good at putting it out externally. Internally, I'm like, bugs, you just do it right. But and I'm not with my regular students. I lose my patience quite regularly with them. But new people, I'm very good with. The regulars get it in the neck and they know, don't annoy Dave because he's going to go mad. But yeah, with the dogs especially, it's just learning patience and not getting annoyed and just thinking through problems. And if you're feeling yourself get annoyed, put them away. Come back another time because we all you can't help getting annoyed. You spent the last year doing running dog walk, and then today's the day they decide they can't get any contact to save their lives, and it's freaking annoying when you put so much work into it. So if you feel that happening, feel yourself getting annoyed, just go away, come back another day, and it'll probably get better.
If people want to find out more about you, where should they go?
So my online site, www.qme-agility.com or .co.uk, whichever one. So yeah, QME Agility. That's my online website. It's got all modules on there. You can sign up to, so it's a subscription site, so you just pay monthly. And you get all the videos, and you get onto a Facebook page too. So I post on there like pretty much daily of things I do and watching me train and all sorts of things. It's a really exciting site, and we have loads of cool things coming up in the future too. So yeah, if you want to find out any more about me, it's all on there.
Really cool. And then for your next adventure, what would that be? Would that be Nexus or?
Well, Nexus is so many things going on at the moment. So we've got Nexus, we've got Nova, which is a site. What's its site like? What's the word I'm looking for? I don't even know it. It's a business I run, and I don't even know what it is. It runs shows. It's a business that runs shows. Online business that runs shows. Oh, I can't think. My brain's gone blank. So yeah, it that does shows, does online shows, online entering system, this kind of stuff. So we've got Nova, we've got Nexus, and I'm getting a Sheltie. So let's see what. Yeah, that's going to be a new adventure, definitely. That's from Martin Reed. He's just bred Selfie, so I can't say no really. Like, I've never been a massive Sheltie person, I'm more of the Spaniel person. I think I like the energy Spaniels give, but I really like Selfie. Obviously, she's brilliant. She's got won EOs twice, got 2 silvers and a bronze at World Championships, so she's blooming good. And if you're going to go for a Sheltie line, Tobias's line, German line is going to be a pretty good one to go for. So yeah, she's been scanned for like 4 or 5 puppies, so they should be born in a few weeks. It's exciting. That will be an adventure, and I must not get annoyed if it's barking all the time. Patience.
You get used to it.
Patience, yeah. Or I just go deaf. I'm pretty old now, so I am going deaf. So maybe I just get deafer.
It's like living next to an airport. There are planes flying over your house, but you don't hear them anymore.
Well, let's see. I'll switch off to it. It's Dan. Dan will be the issue. He's bark police. He can't stand it. So, yeah, let's see. Let's see this adventure because I'm quite excited about it now. Now it's all happening. Obviously, they've got to be born yet, and fingers crossed everything goes good. But yeah, I'm excited. I need another height. I had another height with Boosty, but he was, he was just Collie Cross Corgi or something. I don't know what he was. He did really well, and it was fun. It was fun being in another height, and I haven't had that for a few years now. So I'm looking forward to going back to it.
Great. Anyways, it's been fantastic having you on this podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time between everything that's happening. Yeah, thank you so much, Dave.
It's an online show processor, by the way. I've just remembered the word I was looking for. Processor.
Okay, really great.
But thank you for having me. It was really fun.
Thanks. So that's it for this week. I hope that you enjoyed this story. I hope that you actually enjoyed this podcast. If you haven't yet subscribe to the podcast. And if you can also give it a rating and share it with friends, we would really appreciate that. In the show notes, there's a lot of things that you can look at, things that are mentioned in the podcast. So be sure to check out that if that is relevant and something you would like to look at. Most of all, I would like to thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Starting this podcast was totally new to me, and I enjoy the process. And it's so fun to see that so many people are actually listening to the podcast because I get to see the statistics. And there's more than 2,000 listeners so far. So that's fantastic. Again, have a great week. Do your best, forget the rest, and then I see you next week.